Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Now, the Super Bowl is this weekend, and if you haven't already turned away because of the sweatshirt I am wearing, you gotta know that I am from Massachusetts. So if I'm not representing, then I'm doing a disservice to the Patriots. So that being said, I am here this week to teach you about 3 different appetizers that you can bring to any Super Bowl party. Now, I am not binging with Babish, and I am not Gordon Ramsay, so it's not gonna be like crazy complex things. In fact, these are probably easier than you would expect, and they'll take a couple of minutes to make. So stick around and we'll get right into it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to teach you is slow cooker whiskey meatballs. Now, you can totally use frozen meatballs for this. Just make sure that they are the mini ones. If you decide to make them yourself, totally fine. Just keep them small. So you want to take 2 pounds of these, which is a whole bag pretty much, dump them in there, and now you got your meatballs already. So then you want to take half a cup of whatever bourbon you'd like. In this case, I am using 2 Stars bourbon, which is aptly named. However, it happened to be the only bourbon I actually even had in the house, which is very weird for me, other than Booker's, which is not something you'd want to put in here. Anyway, so you add your half a cup of bourbon. You want to do 1 cup of packed brown sugar. You want to take a cup of ketchup, which I'm just going to eyeball here. So about right. I do actually cook it a lot, so that's pretty close. So then you want to do 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and that's it. It's as easy as that. You'll want to stir this around and put this on high for 2 hours, and you're good to go. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you is whiskey caramel apples. Now, these are going to be a huge hit. Everybody's going to want to have these things because you end up cooking them in a slow cooker and then they dip them and then eat them. They're awesome. So the recipe I'm going to show you handles about 4 to 6 apples, and it is a pound of caramels and then a 1/4 cup of bourbon. Now, you can easily double this recipe or triple it or anything that you want. Just make sure that you get enough apples. So unfortunately, this is a pound of caramels and they're all individually wrapped. So I'm not gonna make you sit through that, but all right. So I've got my caramels all taken out of their packages. It took me almost exactly 10 minutes. So if you want, get a friend to help you, especially if you're gonna be doubling the recipe, and pay them in a dram, just not 2 star. All right. So we're gonna wanna put our caramels into our slow cooker, and I personally am using this tiny one because it's going to be better for dipping. So we've got a pound of caramel, a half a cup of bourbon, put that in there, and then put this over low heat for about an hour, and make sure to stir it every now and then, maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of that hour. And then you're going to want to turn it down to warm, and it can pretty much sit out on warm for hours. It'll be totally fine. So just make sure to stir it every now and then. Now you're going to want to get some apples and chop them up. All right, so there's 2 different ways that you can chop this. Now, there was one more ingredient that I kind of didn't mention because personally I'm not going to do it. But if you want to, you can buy some pecans and chop them up, and people can just kind of sprinkle them over the caramel drizzled apple. So if you want to do that, then you're going to cut these basically just huge chunks across the side. If not, I would prefer, or I would suggest that you go straight down the sides. Do 1 across these sides here, and then split the big guys in half. Now, people are going to be using skewers to put these on and then dip, which you'll see in a little bit. So you want to make sure that they're big enough that they're not going to fall off the skewer. All right, so this is the last one I'm going to show you. However, stick around after this is done because it is the Super Bowl, and you guys have had to look at this thing the whole time, so I'm sure you're frustrated with me. And I have a bet that I'm going to do with you. So you want to take a saucepan, you want to take a stick of butter, throw that bad boy in there. You want to get 3 tablespoons of whatever whiskey. Like I said before, bourbon. I'm using 2 Stars. Then you want to get 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Dump that in there. You want to do a teaspoon of garlic powder, put that in, close enough, and then a half a teaspoon to taste of cayenne pepper. So throw that in there, and then we're going to throw this on the oven, melt it up, and then I'll meet you back here in a minute. All right, so this has cooked over low heat until it melted. Nice brown deliciousness. So as you can see, I've laid out all my pretzels here, and you're just gonna wanna pour this all over these guys. And don't worry, you're not gonna be able to, like, you know, totally coat them all, but it's going to coat the bottom of the pan. So that's another thing. You'll want to use a well-loved baking sheet, because if any of this leaks through, I suspect it will be a little harder to get off. So let's throw that over there. Now you're going to want to kind of shake these around a little bit, make sure that they're all pretty coated. However, just the fact that they're cooking, this is going to bubble up. It's going to get all over these guys. So let's put this in the oven for 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, we're going to stir this around a bit again. And then they're done cooking. You just let them cool and they're good to go. So I'm going to throw this in the oven right now. All right, so let's talk about this bet, because ever since I was a little kid betting on the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl with my parents for $1, I have almost always had something riding on the Super Bowl. It doesn't necessarily have to be money, and in this case, although I'm going to spend money, I've got something a little bit more high stakes. So on Wednesday, the Wednesday following the Super Bowl, I will be doing a live stream. If for whatever reason it doesn't happen, it'll be the following Wednesday. During that live stream, I will drink J&B Rare if the Patriots lose. That will be what I drink the whole night. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, that's not so bad, but come on, J&B Rare is not good. And especially to drink it for the whole night, that is going to be rough. So other than when I inevitably bust out the Bookers because my audience gets what my audience wants, I will drink J&B that whole night. So if the Patriots win. Now, this is where I was having some trouble. I honestly don't know what to treat myself to. I want to treat myself to a bottle, let's say something under $200, but I can't decide on something. So I want you guys to comment down in the comments and tell me what you want me to reward myself with when the Patriots inevitably win. So that's the thing. Whatever gets the most upvotes, I will, thumbs up, I will purchase that and I will drink it on my live stream. Probably end up doing a review of it a couple weeks later as well. So that is the bet. If you happen to not be subscribed to this channel and you've been enjoying this video, please subscribe. I do reviews and whiskey informational stuff and live streams, obviously, and ask anybody that goes to live streams, they're a really, really good time, like more so than they have any right to be. So, all right, let's check out and see how all this stuff is doing. All right, so here we go. We've got our whiskey pretzels, our whiskey meatballs, and our whiskey caramel. I tried to make it look nice for you guys, but I'm no food blogger. I'm just a guy who drinks on camera. So anyway, of the three of these things, I would say this is my favorite. This is probably second favorite, and then these are probably third favorite. Now these would be awesome, and clearly it makes a ton of them, but it would do well if you were to actually make your own meatballs. That being said, my entire point was to give you stuff that's easy to do. So frozen meatballs were fine, but if you really want to kick it up a notch, go with the real meatballs. These things were so much better than I would have expected. I've been snacking on these pretty much since I turned the camera off before while waiting for these all to cook. And these are really, really fun. Now, obviously it's game day. People don't mind eating food on a stick, so don't hesitate to get some big skewers and go for it. All right, this has been the Whiskey Dictionary. Thank you very much for tuning in, and go Patriots.